Hey, this is Craig from Watershed, and you're listening to the Gareth Nelson Show.
Okay, we are joined by Craig from the band Watershed today on the Gareth Nelson Show. Craig, how are you doing?
Yeah, very good, thanks, Gareth. Very good.
Okay,
And
Craig.
yourself?
Oh, not too bad, thank you. All right, I wanted to ask you, how did you get started? And firstly, you as an individual, and then, of course, the band Watershed as well.
Yeah, so it actually started a long time ago. We put the first album out in April 2000, and sort of started everything about a year before that. So we're closing in on 20 years now. So it's been quite a while. And just before Watershed, I used to do just sort of solo gigs in and around town, pubs and restaurants and that sort of thing. So I've been in the music thing now for easy 25 years.
Wow, sure. And have you seen the industry change quite a lot in that time?
No, absolutely. It's it's pretty much on its head, but not in a bad way. I think things are looking positive. People are consuming a whole lot of music nowadays because of the way you can get your hands on it. But it's it's obviously with streaming and that it's promoting bands. So you'll find that bands are performing more, touring more. But the industry is healthy. I suppose everyone's trying things, and as I say, bands are pretty much working harder than they ever had.
Yes, and I mean the state of South African music as it stands at the moment, is it in a healthy position in terms of people coming out to watch bands, people buying music, etc., or do you feel that the music industry has changed quite so much so in South Africa that people are not in favour of local bands?
No, I would say people are very in favour of local bands. There are a lot of big songs. It's difficult to pick out a South African tune now to an international tune, and I think the guys are writing great songs. There's a lot of collaborations going on at the moment, and so it's everything's sort of pretty out there and pretty exciting. So I would say it's in a good space.
And in terms of world music now, I mean, do you think that this rock is still relevant, for example? Do you think that people are still leaning towards guitar-based music, or do you think it's all become sort of hip-hop orientated and EDM-based music now that dominates?
I think it's particularly, I think we're talking about trends in music. I think, if the particular trend is hip-hop, then I believe it's a trend. I don't think it'll stay forever. So your guitar-based music, pop and rock, it will always be there, and it forms the sort of underbelly of all that stuff anyway, of all the hip hop, and so it's I think it's how music. It's the bed for music, and I think it'll always be there. But as I say, I think it's more trendy.
Yes.
It's sort of trend based. So there'll always be a great rock song that's getting to number one.
Yes. And in terms of like now with the advent of social media and technology, do you think that maybe there's an oversaturation in artists coming through and anybody can create a song now on a computer, for example? Do you think it takes it away from the authenticity of creating music with instruments and writing music that way, as it were?
Well, I suppose you hope that when it comes to radio stations, where people are still listening to a lot of music, you sort of hope that their filter is pretty sharp, not to allow sort of bad stuff to get out there. I mean, as you said, people can record a song in their bedrooms and put it up on YouTube. I think people are finding a lot of music nowadays, so you're able to source a lot of stuff, a lot of songs. But I think at the end of the day, a great song will always shine through. So there's a lot of music, but I think the good stuff is still what people are reading.
Yeah, it will still be the tip of the iceberg that really catches the people's eye. Absolutely. Yeah. And now for you, in terms of your personal highlights in your career, things that have stood out for you that you look back one day and say, those are things that were fantastic for me.
Yeah, we've had some exciting things. We did the very first 666 concert at Greenpoint Stadium. That was in 2003, and we were sort of on stage with pretty much everyone, sort of the Madame Tussauds of the music industry in the world. So that was quite an amazing concert to be a part of. I mean, obviously the story with Mandela and everything, so it was quite something.
Of course.
But we've had some exciting times in Europe, getting news that Indigo Girl is sort of in the top 10 in Europe and stuff like that, and that was a big thing, a big turning point for the band, a big watershed for the band.
Indeed.
To be able to head over there and play those big summer festivals and tour those countries, which was a great thing for us. And then being able to put out a best of album after 10 years and knowing that the 20 songs you've got on there have all been on radio. So we've had some really cool highlights in this sort of 19-year career.
And on the other side of that coin, I mean, the lowlights, things that you regret, you could do better, as it were?
Yeah, I think you always have those, and I suppose if you get onto a song level, you sort of will always go back and listen to particular albums and go, oh, that could have been done much better, and that song could have been better, and whether you should have done that particular record deal or not. I suppose you just have to take it all in and say, well, the band's come this far, so sort of the positives have definitely outweighed the negatives, to be able to keep moving forward. But absolutely, it's you don't want to have regrets. So you go back and think, well, actually, it must have been the right decision because things have worked.
And you wouldn't be where you are right now if it didn't happen that way, I suppose.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean, you never know. You might have made the wrong decision then and, signed with a different label and, things might not have worked. So, yeah, you can't really tell.
And as a songwriter yourself now, what inspires you, like with a song like Indiegogo? What inspires you to write a beautiful song like that, for example?
So they're all sort of people-based, and I was chatting to someone this morning about exactly this. It's sort of where does that inspiration keep coming from, and it's pretty much that people keep changing and people are interesting. So there's always something to talk about. Whether you're creating a story from nothing or you finishing a story that you've seen unfold, at a restaurant, for example. And you go home and finish that story for yourself. So but it's pretty much people and people keep us on our toes and keep giving us interesting things to write about.
Absolutely. And now, say a young guy comes up to you one day and says, I want to be a musician and I want to go down this path as that you've done. What would your advice be to that young musician?
I think it's to decide on what you want to do. Not to rush off and I think it's about feeling your way with a particular instrument that you dig playing. And once you found that natural thing, I think it's just about sticking with that thing, because that'll always form the bedrock of wherever you might want to take your music. So it's saying, okay, cool, I write folk music, or I write rock music, or I write hip hop music, and whatever feels natural. You can, I think, the minute something starts sounding contrived, or it's like too much thought has gone into it, people pick that up immediately. So it's just sticking with your guns and believing in the stuff that you do, and
keeping your identity, as it were.
Yeah, absolutely. And then on the flip side, it's about knowing that it's a massive industry, and there are a huge amount of talented people out there, and at the end of the day, it's just about getting your music out there and performing as much as you can.
And I think that's the thing as well, is it is a business. I mean, that's the thing with artists, is that they're creative people, but they've also got to transition into the business side of things and to run it as a business.
I tell you, and that is time consuming. Your time spent on stage, compared to the time sort of preparing for that stage time, it far outweighs it.
And do you feel that like social media now is the way to push a band out there, and YouTube and Facebook and all these things, or is it good old-fashioned playing live and getting people bums on seats, as it were?
Yeah, I think it's still about getting people into a room. I think that is still number one. So I think for a lot of the newer, younger bands, it's great to have 10,000 Facebook followers, but you got to make sure that you're getting people to a venue.
Yes, of course.
So even when it comes to marketing a show, like it's one thing to put out a post on Facebook or Instagram or whatever, but I think people still, when you see a poster up or something physical, it does make a huge difference. I think it sits in people's heads. I think scrolling through 50 bands adverts for a gig, it's too much choice, and people end up getting confused and actually not going at all.
Absolutely, and you've got to interact with your audience, as it were.
Definitely, they want to know about the band. They want to know about the songs. That's the cool thing. I remember seeing a meme at one point of these two ladies sitting in church, and the one woman's husband, it was his funeral, and she says to her friend, she says, "It's weird. John had 15,000 Facebook friends, and there was like one other person in the church." And that's sort of what it's about.
That's
it's
true.
that you think you've got all these fans, but they actually don't really know you or the band.
It's almost like this fake reality, as it were, isn't it?
Yeah, so you want to keep feeding them information,
Yes,
your friends and fans and whatever. But at the end of the day, it's about music, and I think people want to hear it.
Absolutely, well said. And the future for you now and Watershed. I mean, I know you've got the new album coming out. Just tell us a bit more about all that.
Yeah, so all very cool. We're in a good space. We put out an album in 2015 called Watch the Rain, and that seemed to have, just really did some cool things for the band, especially from a live perspective. So we put a lot more effort into our live show, and it feels good now, and that sort of pushed us into this album Harbour. We think the songs are sounding great. We're looking forward to touring the album. And so we had Kirstenbosch in Cape Town on Saturday, and the actual physical album will be available there for the first time. So it's not even in the stores yet, and next week, towards the end of next week, it'll be available on all the digital platforms.
Okay, great. So we'll look out for that. And then, in terms of going overseas or anything like that planned?
Yeah, so already April we're heading off. We've got some stuff in Dubai, and it looks like we're going to link that up with some German touring, where we had we've had a couple of big songs over there, so it's going to be exciting to get back there.
Oh, fantastic. Well, Craig, I wish you all the best for all of that, and thanks so much for taking the time to chat to me today on the Gareth Nelson Show, and like I say, hopefully we'll chat soon again, and keep up all the great work.
Yeah, fantastic, Gareth. It's been great.
Okay, thank you, Craig.
Thanks, sir.